Alright, I suppose I might do a bit of a halfway point video. Um, so this is swapping over to the heater box, so it's sort of like the next job on my list. Also had a few other bits and pieces, so I'll go over what I've done and the process that I've used. So anyway, good idea is get rid of the seats and throw in a creepy crawly thing across there. Much easier to work off than the floor, and that way you can lie on there and get under the dash and all that. So that way is just cool, and it locks on the other side. You can lock over there, and then you want to do this side, you just lock it over this side. So if you've got a car that's painted, obviously protect the edge and all that, but this has got to be painted, so it doesn't matter. So as you can see, fair bit done. I'll run this through it. I'll go around the other side, it'll be easier. So, boonk, see, that's why it's not painted. So anyway, so the process, basically there's screws across the top. So you can do this two ways. If you're just doing the heater box, start again. If you're just doing the dash skin, there's the bolts across the top here, and then there's two bolts down in here underneath that funny looking vent thing that does nothing. So if you're just doing that, that's fine. That's all you need, those, and undo the bolts under here and then on the other side as well. And bolts across the top, and the speaker grills on the other side. And that skin should just come off, and you can just put a brand new skin on there. So the other job I had to do was I had to fix all these up. All these were buggered, bent and broken and not working. And I also had to do a little bit of a tidy up on the column shifter setup and chuck a bit of grease in there. So that's what I did. So to remove these, there's 4 screws. You just take that cap off, and then there's little bits on the side here that slide off with them. No screws here, they just pull off. So once you get that off, got to be really careful with this. You got to lower the steering wheel. So there's 2 bolts here. You can see them obvious, and then down under there, just loosen off the steering arm bolts. The top 2 just loosen off about half, and the bottom 2 just loosen off 4 or 5 turns. Don't take them all the way out, because it'll still hold up the steering column quite comfortably and leave the support on the bolts, not on the box itself, or the rack, or the box. So pull that out, drop that wheel. Mine broke, even though I had a bloody spare. I still ended up breaking the thing. It really peeved me a bit, but I do have a spare, so I'm just going to leave the broken one in there until I put it all last thing together. So these are very susceptible to being broken. So to change the indicators or the wiper, whatever, so there's 2 screws on each side here, and then there's screws here, and here. So you just take the top sections off, and then you can actually loosen this bottom cup section here, loosen and swing it around out of the way, and then you can pull the wires, both sets of these wires, you can actually pull them straight through, all the way around and back out. The plugs are down the bottom. They're really hard to get undone. Very difficult. So you're gonna fight them, there's no doubt about it. You're gonna fight them. You need like 3 hands to do it. You need screwdriver on each side and pull like mad to pull them apart, especially the curved one. Very difficult, but it is what it is. Obviously unplug them, swap them over. If you've got a column shift one and you don't have column shift spare stalks, there's a spare cable that is removed from the column shifter one, and you just pull the 2 cores out and then just run the 2 cores separately, and then you're just gonna have to join them up under here, which I've still got to do. See, they're the 2 there for the little shift indicator light. So I've just got to wire them up into the existing one, because I didn't have a column shift. They're very hard to find the column shift indicator setups, but So the other thing, the little shift indicator thing here, be careful with that. I pulled mine out. I thought I was missing it, but it actually was sitting over in the dash. So I've got 2 of them, and they're very, very rare, especially in good nick. So yeah, make sure you look after that. Don't bump it, because it'll just bang off, and they're very, very hard to find, and expensive too. So anyway, so yeah, 2 screws, screw, and then they just pull out, and then you just feed them through and put new ones in. So yeah, really quite simple job, not difficult. So yeah, so that's sort of like that. Now the center bit, I've done a video on that already, but basically if you're changing the heater box now, so reset, changing heater box, you're going to have to drop the steering column and also drop the handbrake. So the handbrake, there's a bit of an art to this. So there's a bolt there, you can see that, you undo that bolt. Now that is only part of the handbrake removal. So what you need to do is you need to go into the engine bay, and there's 2 bolts stuck way down in there. Down in there, there's 2 bolts. You see them from the other side. You'll see them on the handbrake setup. There's 2 bolts, which I think on the other side there. I don't know. You can't see it, but you'll see them. They're on the base of the handbrake. You can get to them with the engine in, just a small 1/4-inch drive setup. And then what you do is you actually get the handbrake, and you've got to pull the handbrake outwards. So there's a little lever here, there's a little metal bit that's got a little slot that it sits in. So there's actually 2 of them. You can see there's two metal slots. So they sit in those 2 slots there. So you've got to pull the whole handbrake mechanism out, including the whole mechanism, and when you undo those 2 bolts down the bottom. And then that'll pull the handbrake, and that'll loosen that out. As for the bolts, yep, you'll have to undo the ones across the top. You'll have to undo the ones on each side underneath here. There's another one over the other side, over there somewhere. Same deal with the speaker grills, just make sure they're out of the way, look after them because they're expensive and rare. Yeah, make sure you don't. So yeah, so then that's basically, and then there's 2 screws above the center console section, above the center arch section. There's two bolts down the bottom there as well. And that essentially is it, and that'll get all your dash ready to pull out. So because I'm changing the skin and I'm also doing work of that, I've just pulled this out at the same time. So I've got a little bit of work to do on the vacuum lines and all that. So yeah, so I've left that all in there at the moment, but I'll be working on that separately in a minute once I swap over the heater box assembly. So yeah, obviously I've removed this here to protect it, just in case I bump it or if the bloody dash falls or something like that. Yeah, so there's bits and pieces you need to do. So yeah, to get them out, I've already shown you how to do that on previous videos. So I've converted to a different type of dash, so I won't have the Econo gauge. So if you do change dashes, make sure you block that line off, otherwise you can have a vacuum leak constantly. So yeah, block that off. So anyway, so then you basically end up with a dash sitting there like that, ready to fall out on your lap. And it will fall out on your lap, which it did on me. So I've just put it back in there temporarily. So so as you can see, the whole dash, she's just sitting there. So that whole thing's just sitting there like that. So I'm gonna pull that out in a minute. And you can sort of see the bits and pieces down in there. You probably can't because there's not enough light. That's all the vacuum lines and all that, and the power and all that sort of stuff. So that all needs to be cleaned up, and that's where the heater box is, and that's what I'll be working on in a minute. So anyway, that's what I'm pretty well up to. So I'll do a video once I've done all the work and explain it from there. No worries. Shall continue.